Hey Potters, welcome back to the Pottery Plus studio. We're gonna make a bowl on the wheel together today, so I don't have a lot to say about it. Let's just go get started. Here we go. Okay, so let's begin our bowl. So I've got my clay here already centered. I'm gonna use 1.5 pounds for a bowl because on my other demos I've used 1 pound, and that works fine for a cylinder. But with a bowl you need just a bit more because we're gonna leave some excess at the bottom, the base of the bowl, because anytime that you're going to take something out horizontally, you want a little extra support down there. So I've got 1.5 pounds that I cut off, wedged, and measured with my postage scale. If you need to know how to wedge, you can look at our video on that, and also the same with centering. If you need to see how to center, just go back and you can check out our centering video. Okay, so the way that you open a bowl is very different than the way you open a cylinder. And the reason for it is that on a cylinder, you want a flat floor and really nice, corner in the bottom of the pot. With a bowl though, we want it just to be completely round, okay? So to achieve that, the opening is gonna be a little bit different. I'm basically gonna take my hand this way and I'm gonna angle it and pull it towards myself. So I'll show you what that looks like now. And this is kind of a, you have to apply a lot of pressure. So if you need to, you can do this in a few passes. You don't have to do it all at once. You can give yourself a bit of water as you go. And I'm just angling my hand down and pulling towards myself. Oh, got a little air bubble there. All right, and I'm just gonna keep working this until it's fully opened, and then I will check the bottom for the thickness. And I would say on the bottom, because traditionally with a bowl, you are gonna wanna trim like a nice foot, you've gotta give yourself just a little excess down there so that you have enough to trim away when you get to that step. So I'm liking my opening right now. It's nice and round. And I'm gonna just stop here for a moment and check on my thickness. All right, so I don't have much. In fact, I probably could have left myself a little more, so I'm definitely not gonna go down any deeper. And I'll just kind of clean up that hole. Ooh, maybe see if I can do something about that other little air bubble. I wedged my clay. Not sure why I've got that air bubble there. So just not wedged it well enough. Sometimes that happens. It's all right. So there's kind of funny that this air bubble issue is coming up. So there's lots of different schools of thoughts on how to deal with an air bubble. If you're like hand building, the advice would be kind of different. But I would say here, I'm going to go ahead and poke it. Sometimes you just want to leave it alone. Sometimes you can try to take care of it pretty easily. But because I'm throwing, I can kind of poke it and then sort of push. This is, again, one of those things that's hard to put into words. But I can kind of do a pass over it. And if you heard that little pop, it sort of pushed the air out and then filled in that little hole that was left behind. So now, you can still feel something there a little bit, but took care of it, made it better than what it was before at least. Okay. So next to pull my walls up. Oh, wait. Let's take care of this first. So we don't want to leave these two surfaces or edges here. We don't want to leave them with that separation. And same with a cylinder or any form you're throwing. Before you start to pull walls, you want to sort of clean anything up that might have emerged like that. So we're just going to kind of get those fused back together. And I'm going to open my opening just a little further here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so a lot of times when we're learning to throw a bowl, we think that because a bowl goes out horizontally, that we should pull the walls angled out like this, which is already like a natural, like when you first start to throw, you kind of do that naturally anyway, even when you're trying to go straight up. So We don't actually want to throw it like this though, because when you, basically what you would be doing if you pull your walls out like this is you're shaping and throwing the bowl at the same time. And what we want to do is pull the walls, they don't have to be perfectly straight up, but we want to go in an upward motion and then put the shape that we want into the bowl. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to just sort of start pulling the walls. And when you start to do this, it's going to look like you're flattening out the bottom of your bowl, but don't worry. You can reinforce that curve that you created at the end. And throwing a bowl is kind of tricky because you don't really have any area with your non-dominant hand, the hand that's on the inside. There's really nothing to like cling onto and scoop up. So I kind of just start from the middle and I try to put pressure where I feel that there's like a lot of good material for me to scoop up into the walls. And then I just sort of add pressure as needed. Again, so many things like this in pottery, you kind of just have to feel it to understand it. So my walls are looking pretty good, but I see down here that there's still quite a bit of excess. Now, like I said at the beginning, with a bowl, you don't want to go too hard down here trying to scoop all of this up, because when we start to stretch this out, if you don't have wide enough of a base of clay down here, that's when you can get like the bowl collapse. But I have so much that I think I do want to try and get some of that material moved up through the wall. Okay, that's pretty good. And if your bowl starts to flare out, you don't necessarily need to like collar it back in. Just don't want to accentuate that flare out as you're pulling the walls. And I'm going to give this one more pull, and then I think I will be ready to do my shaping. Okay, I can live with that. Maybe do one more little shallow pass here. So I can just get a bit more. Yeah, there we go. I'm a bit jittery today, y'all. Sorry. Okay. So my pulling is done. And right here, while I clean this up a little bit to kind of prepare for the shaping part of it, y'all. In the pottery education world, there's always like a great controversy over whether to teach students a bowl first or a cylinder first. And the thing is, it's much easier to throw a bowl first because, like I mentioned before, like it's our natural instinct to go out even when we're trying to go up. So I would always teach my students a cylinder first, because if they could learn to go up, then they always had that skill, and then when they would move on to a bowl, they could control whether they were flaring out or not. Sometimes I found, like I would do experiments, sometimes I found if we would start with the bowl, then it was much harder to get to the cylinder. So I don't know, that's just my 2 cents on that. There's lots of different opinions about it, but I would say if you are beginning, challenge yourself, learn that cylinder first, and then you're gonna be better off later on. Okay. So I'm going to use my metal rib here, and to flare my bowl out, I'm basically going to push from the inside into the rib. You've seen me do this before on the video about shaping your pot and kind of pushing it out into the rib. So it's just going to look like this. I'm going to lean my rib at an angle, and I'm going to push the bowl into that angle. If you wanted a really low wide bowl, you could keep pushing it out further. Let's just do that for funsies. Let's push it out a little further. And really it's kind of fun because you can, depending on how stretchy your clay is, you can take this pretty far. But I'm going to stop there. Now I'm going to kind of focus some of my finishing efforts towards the inside of the bowl. So you might be able to see it here. There's like, and this is so common, there's always just this pesky little ring of excess right here. And so to take care of it, I like to take my rib and I push it out to the outside. And sometimes you can see it kind of appear here on the outside and it's gonna drive you nuts and you're gonna wanna come back in and push it back in. But one of the best tips that I ever received from another potter that I used to work with was push it to the outside and then take care of it when you're trimming. Like once it's, you know, leather hard-ish and you can get it upside down, then you can get rid of it that way. But you want it out from the inside of your bowl, because a bowl is one of those forms where the visuals of the inside is just as important as the outside. The inside needs to be beautiful. I mean, if it's not, you know, not the end of the world, but that would be the goal. So I'm just kind of reinforcing my curve here. Don't want to get that flat bottom. And that's really about it. From here, I would just kind of clean it up a little bit, finish it up. You know, you could do some fun things with the rim here. Any normal finishing techniques that you use would apply. I always obsess about like just sitting here and wanting to smooth out and smooth out and smooth out the inside of a bowl. That's just me. But this is basically done. So lots of similarities to the ways in which you throw a cylinder or any other form. The main difference is just that opening step so that you get that nice round interior. Okay, that's gonna wrap it up. Potters, if you have any questions or comments or any other feedback, drop them in the comments below, or you can find us on Facebook at Pottery Plus or Instagram at Pottery Plus Co. I hope you have a lovely day and we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye guys.